Right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Renewal Blueprint. Today, we're going to be talking about strategies that help make sure clients renew. Okay. So, we're going to be talking about all things renewal today and how to build your business by keeping the clients that you have. So, along the way, if you have questions, pop them into the chat there. And I'd love for this to be interactive as we go, but I'm going to give you some of the experiences that I've had over the past 20 years in the health and fitness industry, helping coach thousands of trainers to successful careers. And so let's get into it here. I'm going to share some slides as we go, a few slides here and there. And we're going to start off like, why are we even talking about this? So, why are we talking about renewals? And the reality of it is that it's easier and cheaper to keep a client to gain a new one. So I put in the word cheaper as well too, because some people are having to, depending on how you're coaching people, if you're coaching online or if you're in your own studio, you're spending money on ad costs, right? So you might be advertising, you might be doing brand awareness or doing some sort of awareness thing that costs you money. And so it costs you more money to get someone new than it is to someone that already knows who you are. It's also easier in the sense that, you don't have to do all those lead generation activities. You don't have to do all those initial prospecting activities if you're keeping the clients that you have. So it's easier and more cost effective to keep the clients that you already have. Number two, it allows you to have more impact in people's lives. If someone joins with you and they work with you for 3 months, the reality of it is that if you spend a year with that person, you're going to have a greater impact on their life. You're going to be able to bestow more knowledge and tools and education on them. And you're also going to be able to coach them more and relate to them more as a human being and make them a better human being as well over a longer period of time. The more time you're with someone, the better the conversations are going to get, the better the things that you guys are going to share and the challenges you're going to go through together over that longer period of time. And so the more you're going to impact in their life, not just physically, but as a human being. And the third reason why it's important to renew people or have a good renewal process is to stabilize your income. Okay. This allows you to be at your best. We have this survival mode that we get into if we're worried about being able to pay our bills or we're worried we're going to be short of money. We're going to get into survival mode, and it adds some natural stressors to our body, some natural stressors to our mind. If we know that our bills are paid and there's food in our fridge, it allows you to just show up comfortably and confidently in the best way possible. So stabilizing your income is actually good, and it allows you to show up for your clients better. Okay. So that's why this is an important topic that we're going to go through today for these reasons. So we're going to talk about why clients don't renew and then how to solve that problem. But the first thing that I will share is that everything impacts the renewal. Okay. That's an important piece to understand, is that everything you do in your business impacts the renewal. Okay. And so we're not going to talk about all those things today, but it is a caveat on the conversation that we're going to have today. So if we are running a good business and getting people results, like if I don't get clients results, that's obviously going to impact whether they renew or not, right? If I'm not professional in my sessions, like showing up on time consistently, the way that I book clients, reschedule clients, if that's not done in a professional manner, if I don't show up as a professional, that's going to impact my business and whether clients renew or not. And communication is important. So making sure that I'm communicating in a professional way, I'm getting back to people on a regular basis, that I'm matching the communication style of the client so they feel like there's some sort of relationship there. So those are all things that impact a renewal. We're not going to spend a lot of time on them today because these are just things as a health and fitness professional that we should be doing anyways. So regardless of the renewal process, we should be focusing on professionalism, getting clients results, good communication, just to do a good job in our business. But everything that we do can impact the renewal and why people renew. Steve put in the chat there, personality conflict. Absolutely. If there's a personality conflict, someone might want to not spend more time with us. It's our job as the person delivering the service to cater our personality or adapt our personality to that of the client so that we are someone that's agreeable to get along with for them. It's not on the client to adapt to us. They're paying, we're delivering the service. It's on us to adapt to the client. Okay. All of those things impact the renewal, but they're not, those are just basic, doing a great job as a health and fitness professional. Okay. We're not going to spend time on it. We're going to spend time more so on the actual process. Okay. So if we look at why do people not renew? So why don't clients renew? There's a basic reason why clients don't renew, and it's this, what's in front of you right now, is that from the time that they purchase with you and get started on their training, okay, the cost over time will increase. And this increase at, various intervals, right? You might level up, you might charge more for your session, you might have grown and added skills, so you're charging more, or it might just be natural inflation, right? Like the reality of it is, 2 years from now, gas will cost more, houses will cost more, and so there's some inflation on your cost as well too. Okay, so over time, to some extent, generally prices will increase or cost increases. Now, in most cases, value decreases over time from the time they bought to the time, that it is come time to renewal. So not always, but this is 90% of the cases that value decreases over time. Now, some of you might say, wonder, why is value decreasing over time? You can put some guesses into the chat there. Why do you think that I'm saying that value decreases over time when somebody works with you? So if somebody works with you over a 6-month, 1 year, 2 year period of time, whatever it is, inflation might happen. You might go up $1 per session, right? Or you might level up and charge a little bit more per session or whatever. There's different reasons why the costs increase. But why might I say that value decreases from the time that they sign up with you till 6 months or 1 year later? Okay. So why do you guys think that is? So Jake put in that you fixed their initial concerns. They're smarter and they're more confident. Yeah, you're getting in the right direction. So they may have achieved their initial goal. They may not have. I don't know the answer to that when we're speaking here today in general terms. So like 6 months later, maybe they achieved their goal. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they're still working on it, but they are smarter than they were when they first started. So when you start day one, in theory, you've taught them nothing so far, except for whatever you said to them in the consult. So they've learned nothing from you. 6 months deep, they've learned X amount from you. So they've acquired some skills, and it may be basic skills. It may be, how to lunge properly, a basic setup of a program of sets and reps. They've learned a couple of nutrition tips from you. They can't relearn those same things. They've already learned them, right? So they've already learned these things from you. They've digested. They're a smarter person. They're also probably a little bit more confident person, as Jake said, that from day one. And day one, no matter where their confidence level is, over the past 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, it's grown. Even if it's only grown an inch or if it's grown a little bit, their confidence has grown. Their belief in their abilities has come up a little bit, and they've learned things from you. So I'm not saying you're not delivering value. I'm just saying overall the value has decreased because they've learned X amount from you, and you cannot reteach them those same things. They've got them. They know. Once they've learned how to lunge from you, if they were paying attention, they know how to lunge. Okay. So that's why in general, value goes down over time. Okay. So what and we know cost is just going to naturally go up. It's just an inflation thing. We know that it's going to go up. So that's the main reason why people don't renew. Cost goes up, value goes down. It makes sense. If you're a reasonable, logical person, if you had to pay more and you were going to get less from that person, you might not want to renew either, right? It's a logical thing. If value goes down and cost is up, psychologically, whether they're aware of it or not, it may be a subconscious thing, but it makes sense that maybe why they don't renew. Okay. Even if they're not aware that that's why they're not renewing. Some people say, well, I can't afford it right now. Things are a bit tight, or I'm going to try it on my own for a bit. But really what they're saying is value has gone down. And so I'm going to save the money, save the cost. Okay. So that's the subconscious equation that's happening behind no matter what it is they say on the surface. The subconscious equation is the value has gone down. Okay. So if we want to renew more clients, what's our solution to that? What's our solution to solving that? We need to make sure that we raise the value, right? That's it. We know costs at some point will gradually go up. So our responsibility to keep renewing clients is to ensure that over time, no matter whether I'm 6 months, 1 year, or 10 years in with a client, that I continue having the value trending in the right direction, which is value continues to go up over time. That's how I solve the renewal problem. Okay. So the question, the magic question of today is, how do we do that? Right? So we know that that's what we want to do is we want to make sure the value goes up over time. And so how do we do that? And that's what we're going to spend our time focused on today is the renewal blueprint. Okay. So the renewal blueprint talks about how do we ensure that value continues to stay really high for our clients over time or escalates and goes up over time. Okay. So the first thing is we have to create opportunity for the client to renew, and then we have to put systems in that help the client to renew. All right. So when we look at opportunity, a couple of people had mentioned some things around opportunity is one is more goals, right? So if you had set an initial goal, and it doesn't matter what that goal is, so it's like help me with my back pain, or help me lose 10 pounds, or help me gain some muscle, or whatever, help me do this Tough Mudder race. Doesn't matter. They had a goal, right? And if they've achieved that goal, or even if they've achieved 80% of that goal, they lost 8 out of the 10 pounds, they feel they're well on their way to the goal or they've achieved the goal, the opportunity to renew really isn't there, right? And so that becomes a problem. They're not given the opportunity to achieve more goals or to do more things. So we want to constantly be setting new goals. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about is giving people the opportunity to renew by consistently setting more goals and showing them how we're going to help them. The second way we create opportunity to renew is one of the things that we said was they've learned something from you and you can't reteach them that. So to keep the value high, we have to always have new things that we can work with them on and teach them on. Okay. And so the only way we can do that as a fitness professional is keep our knowledge level really high. So this is why I'm a fundamental believer in education is that, if you can always bring something new to the table with your clients, not just 1 year in, but I'm talking 10 years in, you're working with the same client. If you're learning new things, you can bring new things to the client, new assessments, new exercises, new programming, new ways of doing things. Okay. And then the other things of more things to learn is the programming piece, right? Like if I always program the same way, if my programming style is always the same way, then they're going to get adapted or they're going to get used to that and think, okay, I can, kind of do this on my own or run with this on my own. But if I never give someone the same program twice, then they're always getting a different program. They're going to understand I need to continue to work with this person because there's new programs ahead of for me. Okay. And so really with the variety opportunity we have in programming, like changing the structure of the programming in so many ways, changing the training phase, changing the types of exercises, there's a million exercises we can implement. If we're always changing what we're doing with them and over a 10-year period, we never do the same program twice, okay, then we give them the opportunity to keep learning new things from us. And I know that our head coach, Brendan Fox, has got clients that he's had for 15 years that have never done the same program once in 15 years because he has that many ways of programming and exercises and ways of changing things. So when we learn more, we're educated, we bring more programming to the table, we give them an opportunity to keep learning from us so the value doesn't go down, okay? And then the last way to give them an opportunity is to show them that there's more ways to grow and learn outside of just the physical piece, and that comes to the mindset conversations, okay? So when we have mental toughness conversations around, the problems that are happening in clients' lives, whether it be stress challenges at work or, the natural challenges that come up in lives and relationships and navigating life, if we're coaching them on mental toughness tools, those lessons will never stop, right? Because at different phases of life, we go through different problems, right? And so when we're younger, we're dealing with, problems of maybe not fitting in or not knowing where we belong in the world, or not dealing with like school challenges or starting a new job challenges. In later years, we're dealing with relationship challenges or challenges with having kids or promotions and things at work. And, even later than that, we're dealing with like getting ready for retirement. What do I do to have a meaningful life in retirement and things like that? So just naturally, life always changes. So the type of mental toughness that they need from you or mindset coaching conversations they need from you are going to change over their lifespan. And so if you have mental toughness tools and you're on a regular basis working with people on mindset or mental toughness things, then there's always more to gain from you. And again, we've had clients that have achieved their physical goals and are very fit and pain free and stick with our coaches, our instructors, because of the mindset conversations that they have. They love that, they value it, and they keep coming back and keep renewing because of it. So those are how we can create opportunities to renew, and we'll talk about those. And then the second part is the system. And the system is the processes in your business. Like, have you set up processes in your business in order to, set up the renewal? And so it's like, what are you doing 30 days out from the point where they're running out of sessions or running their packages finishing? What are you doing 2 weeks out, 1 week out? What are you doing at renewal point? But it's also the conversations that you have on a regular basis. Like, what am I doing each month with people as time passes? What are the types of conversations that I'm having? All of these things matter. So that's what we're largely going to focus on to improve our renewals today, is those two things. Give people the opportunity to renew, as well as have the systems in place to help them renew. Okay. So we're going to go into some of these things and how we can implement them. So let's start with the first part, which is the opportunity to renew. Okay. And when I look at this, I'm looking at it as our renewal processes. Okay. So if I go back to my slides here and share my slides, what are the processes that are just regularly in our business that allow people to renew? So one of them is new goals. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about reinforcing habits or lifestyle or journey thinking, process thinking over motivation, because motivation can be fleeting. We're going to talk about the relationship between you and the client, as well as creating community. So these are the renewal processes that we want to put in place with people. Okay. And in our business, just how we conduct our sessions, our interactions with our clients. So the first one is new goals. One of the biggest mistakes that we make as health and fitness pros is we work with someone on, let's say, their weight loss goal or their hypertrophy goal. And then 6 months later, when it's time for the package to come up, we say, oh, let's set some new goals, right? The client is very aware that it's renewal time, or they're running out of sessions, or they're almost done their payments, right? And that we're setting the new goal, last minute. And it's not as motivating. It's kind of timing it poorly. And so to avoid that mistake, we want to consistently be setting new goals as we go through the training process with a client. Okay. And so instead of saying, okay, last minute, I'm going to set new goals, one of the things that I've always encouraged the people I coach is a monthly check-in on all things with clients. So every single month, you take 10 minutes of a session, of the last 10 minutes of a session, the first 10 minutes, doesn't matter, and you do a check-in. And the check-in is kind of evaluating in the last 30 days, what is the progress that we've made in our training? So out of the last 30 days, what have you done and done well? What have we achieved? What have, in the last 30 days? And this ties into a tool that we're going to go over later, which is in the resource portal, which is called the Renewal Reflection Tool. So this is part of the Renewal Reflection Tool that I'll show you later. But it's like, what have we achieved? What are the milestones we're happy about in the last 30 days? What does the next 30 days look like for us, right? What does the next month look like? Where are we at in our periodization? Are we changing anything? Are we changing phases? Are we changing styles? Are we working on something different? So that's part of that as well too. And then we also get into like, what are some of the goals? Like, where are we at in our goal? But what other goals do we want to incorporate? So instead of last minute me saying, let's set some new goals, every single month I'm setting new goals. So if you bought a 6 month package, I'm 30 days in and I might be adding goals to you. I say, okay, look, our goal is to gain X amount of pounds of muscle or lose weight or whatever. And here's where we're at on that. What else do we want to bring to the table as we conquer that journey that ties into it? And how you can set new goals is just by really listening to your clients during sessions while having conversations. They may talk about, oh, they're talking about their family and they have a vacation that's coming up in the winter. Great, make a note of that. Because when it comes to your monthly check-in, you might say, hey, remember you talked about in January, you and your family are going, on this trip? Do we want to focus on getting in shape for that trip in addition to this goal that we have of getting your back pain, getting rid of your back pain? And what might that look like, right? Or let's say they mentioned something about their past. Like when I was younger, I used to play a lot of golf or I used to play a lot of hockey, but I don't do it so much anymore. Great, make a note of it. When it comes to time for the monthly check-in, say, you mentioned you play hockey, is that something you want to get back into your life? Should we do a little bit of, training to get you ready to get back on the ice so it's not so hard for you, or, get you ready to go out golfing again or whatever. Whatever it is they used to love doing in their life, maybe we incorporate that as a goal, right? So as they're bringing up things in day-to-day conversations in terms of like, their family, what's coming up in their life, what they used to do, I'm just making note of things. And at that monthly check-in, I'm setting new goals. So it becomes a never-ending cycle of setting goals. Every single month, I'm asking what new goals are we putting onto the table. So the clients that I'm working with are never just working on one goal. They're working on 3 or 4 goals at the same time, and we're weaving in their program to all those goals. And then as they're conquering goals, we're setting 2 or 3 more as time goes on. So the key is my clients never achieve their goals, meaning that yes, they've achieved a lot of goals, but they always are putting more goals on the table, right? And that's just, again, a process thing that it's like, if I have a monthly check-in and I know at that monthly check-in, I'm always going to talk about adding future goals, I will always have a client that has 3 or 4 goals because we'll never, like, life never stops. So there's never anything we're not training for. We're always moving forward in some way. Okay. So that's how we set goals, is at this monthly check-in, and listening to what's going on in their life, and we can add goals to the table. So just maybe think about, how can you add a monthly check-in with your clients? Where does that fit into what you do? Where might you put it in the session? Maybe make a little note, like last 10 minutes, first 10 minutes. When are you going to do it? First session of the month, last session of the month. Adding that monthly check-in and reevaluating and adding goals can really help. Okay, the next step is motivation is fleeting. Okay, so when people sign up for personal training, I've sold that, millions of dollars of personal training over my career. And when people sign up for personal training, they're excited. They have a goal in their head and they want to get started on it. And then depending on the person, 2 weeks in, a month in, 3 months in, what happens to that motivation? What do you guys think happens to the motivation as time goes on? Yeah, it goes down, exactly. And that's the whole thing behind the whole January, the January New Year's resolution, is that motivation goes down over time. Okay. Motivation is like a day-to-day, moment-to-moment thing. You probably have parts of your day where you feel motivated and parts of your day where you're dragging, right? So instead of relying on constantly having to motivate people over time, yes, we're going to do some of that. Don't get me wrong. We are motivators. So we are going to motivate people over time. But instead of that, we want to reinforce habits and processes. Okay. So how do we reinforce their goals or their health and fitness as a priority over time rather than constantly focus on motivation? There's a few strategies to doing that. Motivation is like tying back to people's why, but we want to go beyond tying back to the why. Because I might say, hey, remember why you want to lose this 10 pounds, because you're going to go on vacation and get that beach body. And they'll be like really excited. And tomorrow when I'm not there, they eat the cookies or whatever, right? So it goes down. So tying to why is okay. I'm not saying not to do that, but rather than just do tying to why, we want to go beyond why, and we want to get to their purpose or mission in life. So those of you that have done the exercise therapy lower body mastery know we do the Frankel process, which really more talks about what are people's unique purpose or mission in life, right? And then we tie that with a tool in core mastery, which is priorities revolution, setting people's priorities. That's what we want to do is basically figure out who do you want to be in this lifetime. That is a lot more powerful than wanting to get on a beach or wanting to do a Tough Mudder next year or do a 10K or whatever. Those are fleeting motivations, fleeting desires, but who knowing and being in touch with what kind of person do I want to be in life and having that top of mind is a lot more powerful because it's like, okay, if you want to be someone that is healthy, if you want to be someone that takes on life challenges, if you want to be someone who's a good example to their kids, to their spouse, their family, if that's who you want to be, then you need to make decisions that align with who you want to be, right? And that might mean showing up to the gym. It might mean tackling these goals. So using the Frankel process, we want to figure out what is their unique mission in life here, and we want to keep it top of mind. Okay. We can keep it top of mind by, giving that as homework and having them have it written down somewhere on their mirror, on their fridge. We can keep it top of mind by us bringing it up at the monthly check-in. Okay, monthly check-in time. Let's start with who you want to be, right? Kevin wants to be someone that conquers life's challenges, right? And so what challenges are ahead of us? Boom, let's go back into goal setting, right? So we can help keep this who do they want to be on top of mind, okay? And then we need to tie in, do they need their body to be that person, right? So the reality of it is we care about fitness, most of us care about health and fitness, but most of our clients do not. Most of our clients don't want to be a healthy person. They don't want to be someone who's fit. Who do they want to be? They want to be a good dad or a good mom, right? They want to be someone that is respected at work by their peers. They want to be someone who travels the world and, has great experiences. They want to be someone who's happy and fulfilled. Whatever. That's the thing those are the things those are the people that they want to be. So we need to tie fitness directly to that. And so we do that by saying, okay, you want to be a great mom, right? Or a great dad. And so if you're in pain, can you do that? If you're tired, constantly tired, right? Or don't have the energy to get up and off the couch, can you be that person? Or if you can't keep up with your kids in the backyard, can you be the person you want to be? And the answer is no. And so that's a lot more motivating than their fitness goals are for them in general. So constantly reminding them with who they want to be, what kind of person they want to be in life, and the fact that they need their body in a working order and relatively healthy to be that person, tying that together. And then having that as a consistent reminder at our monthly check-in, on their fridge, on their mirror, and as part of our sessions as regular topics of conversation during our when they're facing life challenges in our sessions. Okay. So that's a really important part of it. The other piece to this is the cost of not doing this. Okay. Everything in life has a cost or consequence to it. And so, what is the cost or consequence of not taking care of their health and fitness? And this is something that also is on the renewal reflection sheet that we're going to go through later is that, people need to see these costs. We have to make the invisible visible for them. And so we got to say, okay, so if we don't show up for our sessions, what's the cost of that? It's not about missing a workout and it's not about not losing the 2 pounds. It's about the cost is you can't show up for your kids or you can't, be the best version of you at work or you can't be that person in old age that's out seeing the world with your spouse because this is going to be holding you back. So it's not about the 2 pounds that we'll lose this month. It's not about gaining the muscle. It's taking away the person you want to be. Okay. And so we do that in the renewal reflection of like, what's the cost of not showing up or not continuing on with working on your health and fitness. Okay. So this will help reinforce who they want to be, reinforce their mission in life rather than constantly focusing on like trying to motivate someone. The other thing that's going to reinforce them working on their fitness is working on milestones instead of just big goals. Okay. So clients have these big goals, and it might be next year I want to run a race, right? Or I want to lose 30 pounds, or I want to have a six pack, whatever their goal is. I want to be strong and lift 400 pounds, whatever their goals are. Those take time. They're going to take 3 months, 6 months, a year. Some people's goals a year and a half. Okay. And so what happens towards that year goal over time is motivation drops, right? As we said, their motivation is going to wane. It's taking too long. Their delayed gratification is not as good as instant gratification of stopping and eating and having the money to do other things and whatever, right? So how do we push the short-term gratification muscle, right? Or the button in their brain, the short-term gratification is milestones along the way. We set mini goals along the way. We have them conquering and crushing mini milestones all the time. Okay. The more milestones, the better, right? Like in a 30-day period, if my client can crush 3 goals or one big one or whatever on their way to their 6 or 1 year goal, right? It's going to push the instant gratification button in their brain, and they're going to stay more committed to the processes of working out and wanting to work out and not wanting to stop. So how do we do that is in our exercise therapy handouts, we have a lot of things that we score. Like we score their BMS-5, and we score their shoulder mobility screen, and we score this and we score that and whatever. And the reason we score it is not to say, they're a bad person when they first do the assessment. It's so that we can show them milestones. Hey, look, it's been 30 days and your score on your BMS-5 went up 4 points, right? High five. We do that at their check-in. And next month, their score in their Springy 7 went up. And next month, their score in their shoulder mobility assessment went up. And, we're constantly giving them scores that are going up on their way to their 6-month or 1 year goal, right? And the only reason for that is to consistently be able to show them mile markers along the way, right? You're moving better, you're eating better, you're feeling healthier. Like the more milestones we can give them, the better. The more they're going to be psychologically tied to the process. The more psychologically tied to the process of being with you they are, the more chances that they're going to keep doing it and renew. Okay. So we want to keep that psychological reinforcement high. And that's what we're trying to do through tying them to their mission in life, setting new goals, and now showing them milestone goals. The more concrete we can make these milestone goals, the better. The big mistake we make as health and fitness professionals is we give like fluff goals, which is like, oh, you're doing so much better, but there's no evidence behind it. And it's like, oh, you're doing great, you're moving better, but we're not showing them any evidence that they're moving better. So a better way to do that is like, here's the video I took of you when you first started. Here's the video of you today, right? And you're showing them you are moving better. You're crushing it. Great job. High five, right? That's physical evidence. If you just tell your client you're doing better, it may not register with them. They may be like, whatever. You're supposed to say that, you're my trainer, right? But if we can give them evidence or more concrete proof that they are making progress, right? So it could be videos, it could be the scoring of these assessments and rescoring them and showing them their originals. It could be you've lost 2 pounds, right? And our goal was only 1 pound this month. It could be, this workout. So we did this particular workout, this Tabata workout. And the first time you couldn't get through all 8 sets. You were very tired and had to stop. And now you're getting through all 8 sets and it's easy for you. We had to up the weight or up the working time, right? So that's physical proof that they're doing better along the way. Look, you're wearing a smaller size jeans or whatever. The more concrete proof along the way that we can give them that they're achieving something, the more we can press on that instant gratification button in their brain, the more psychologically tied to your process, to you, to continuing the process will be. But that has to be consistent. That's why it's considered a neural process. It's not something we can do once in a while. It just has to be, this is how I run my business. That with all clients, I do this at all times. I'm always showing them reinforcement. I'm in the habit of showing them how they're winning each month. Okay. So the first one we had was by setting new goals and having clients constantly working 3-4 goals at all times. And we can put in a monthly check-in to do it. And at our monthly check-in, we can now reinforce their milestones and what they're achieving by physically, showing them concrete ways that they're improving all the time. and that will get them psychologically tied in. Okay. So those are two of our renewal processes. The next one is relationships. Relationships matter. So I think Steve put in there earlier that he said, well, there could be a personality conflict with someone. Great. It's my job to make sure that that doesn't happen. Right. And so the relationship that you have with your client is really important. Right. We need to be us. Like I need to be Jeff and you need to be Selena and Krista. Like you're great people and need to be yourself. But we can always improve the way we communicate with others, right? Improve the way that we relate to others. We can always care for people better. These are things that we can improve at as a coach. Okay. And so the example I try to give people is like, if you're speaking Italian and I'm speaking Chinese, how much of that message is getting through? Probably not a lot, right? We're probably limited in what's actually getting through. And when people have different personalities, that's sometimes what's happening. It's just because of their personalities, the message isn't getting through. So as the coach, it's my responsibility to make sure the message gets through. Speak in the client's language, relate to them more, use examples that they would get along with. If they're a bubbly and fun personality, make the session bubbly and fun. If they're a more serious and detail oriented personality, make the sessions more detail oriented. Like I have to do a little bit of catering to make a good relationship. What else improves the relationship with the clients? Caring about them, right? And so talking about their family with them, including their family in the process, talking about their work, understanding their likes and dislikes, including their likes and dislikes in the session, right? Where if like I have a client that likes basketball, I could hate basketball, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to research their favorite team and what's going on in the basketball playoffs. And between sets, while we're resting, we'll play a game of horse with like a plyo ball and a little ring a hoop that I set up in the gym. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It shows that I have a relationship with them. Okay, and then forming a bond of the relationship through the mindset coaching, right? That's another way to do it, is through our mental toughness coaching. We build a really strong relationship with someone. We show that we care and that we want the best for them in life. People will renew just for that relationship, and they will continue it with it. Decisions are made on emotion, but they're backed by logic. So the logic part is, if I don't have goals, if I'm not learning new things, maybe I shouldn't continue. But the emotion part of it is the relationship. So I want to take care of the relationship, including their family, knowing about their family and asking about it, asking about key relationships in their lives, doing things that show I care, like, learning about the things they like, talking about the things they like, making the session focused on them, not on me, having mental toughness conversations, showing that I'm here for them. All those things form a good relationship. That's the emotion of the renewal. The emotion of the renewal is, I don't want to leave this relationship. Okay. The logic of the renewal is, I have more goals to work on and more things to learn from Kevin. Okay. So we're addressing both by building really strong relationships. Okay. Showing we care better. So we can improve our communication. We can improve the way that we do mental toughness or mindset coaching. We can improve how we care about people and taking an interest in people. And we can improve the way we communicate by trying to communicate in a way that's better resonates with them. So that's the relationship piece of the psychological process of renewing. Okay. So we want to have that taken care of, that if the relationship's there, they will emotionally want to renew with us. The second thing that helps emotionally wanting to renew is community. If you look at things like CrossFit, High Rocks, F45, they have nailed community, right? Regardless of what you think about the workouts, they've nailed community. Like when you go to a CrossFit box, regardless of people throwing out their back or hurting their shoulders, they keep coming because they want to see the people. They love the environment. It's a team workout. They're high-fiving people when they're done. They go to lunch together, go have a coffee after their workout together. They talk about each other's lives, right? And they're like, oh, how's that thing going at work or whatever? It's community. How can you create community, right? People don't want to leave you, but you also, if you do a good job of creating community, they don't want to leave the community. Because if they don't renew, they leave the community. Okay. So how can you create community at your gym or whatever it is that you deliver your service? If you own a gym, learn from these people that create great communities and figure out how to create community in your studio or your gym or your online program. It's with people interacting with each other, people supporting each other, having similar interests, competing together builds community, those types of things. So those are things you can do. If you work at a gym, right, that's not your gym, and you're like, oh, I'm just a trainer at XYZ gym, you can still do it. Introduce your clients to other trainers, right? So that they can say hi to them and talk to them when they come in and out of the gym. Introduce your clients to other clients of yours so that they can come and say hi to them as they're crossing paths at a session. Once a month, do a team workout. All your clients are invited. Say, hey, this month, we're doing it on this Saturday. If you can make it, great. It's a free session. Everybody come. We're going to do a 40-minute team workout. And maybe 8 out of the 15 clients come, but whatever, you do it. And the other ones will make it next time, right? I had someone that was an exercise therapy student, someone we coach. They did a Christmas party for their clients every year. So they got together at a bar or whatever and had some drinks and stuff at a Christmas party and stuff. There's different ways that we can create community. Having team competition boards. The board can be on your clipboard. So you can have nicknames for all your clients, right? And all your clients can pick their own nickname, and then they have scores on something you're doing that month. This month we're doing this challenge, and they can see what the other people are doing. They're like, no, Nick's beating me or whatever, right? So these are just different ways to create community. It's really good to create community because you might go on vacation for a week, they train with another trainer. Great. And they build a relationship with that person, and they can say hi to them when they're there and not there. So the second piece is to this emotional renewal is if you create community, emotionally, people will not want to leave the community. Okay. And they will pay to stay in the community. So you want to create a relationship with you. Emotionally, they don't want to leave you. And second, emotionally, they don't want to leave the community. So these are some of the major renewal processes that it's like, it has nothing to do with the actual renewal, but it has everything to do with just, this is how I run my business to psychologically reinforce clients to stay with me and renew long-term. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. They're not actually done at renewal time, but they're just done all the time. So when we look at I'm going to recap them quick and move on to the actual renewal. So the first thing is always having new goals, doing that at a monthly check-in. Client's always working on 3 or 4 goals. Client never achieves all their goals with me because I'm always setting new ones. Okay. Reinforcing their commitment to the goals over motivation through their mission in life, who they want to be, right? And reminding them that they need their body to do it and the cost of not working on their body, not working on their fitness, what that's going to cost them in terms of their mission in life. Okay. Having more milestones and constantly showing them how they're crushing milestones so that it's hitting that instant gratification button for them, creating relationship with you personally so they don't want to leave you, and then creating community so they don't want to leave the community. Okay. All right. Now we are going to go on to the next bit. I am hoping to leave some time for questions here. So the next bit is renewal systems. Okay. So that's the stuff on like the renewal processes are just how I run my business. The renewal systems of what do I actually do to renew someone. Okay. So you can have your own system, but the key is you have to have a system. A lot of times when I've been coaching professionals and they say, I'm losing, I'm constantly having to get new clients, or my turnover rate is too high. And so my income is fluctuating. One of the things I ask them is, okay, talk to me about your renewal system. And they say, well, I just ask people they're going to renew. I'm like, well, that's not really a system. So we want to have a system in place. That it's a system means that you do it the same way every time. You do it for every person, and you refine and adapt the system to constantly improve on it. Okay. That it's standard operating procedure. So what is your renewal system? Evaluate it. And you don't have to do these things here that we're going to talk about, but you want to make sure that you have a system that's reliable that you can come back to. So what I'm going to encourage here is, number one, what are you doing 30 days out? So 30 days out. So if someone, let's say, has a 6-month program with me and we're 5 months in, we're 30 days out at that monthly check-in, I'm going to use the renewal reflection sheet that we're going to go into here in a moment. It's going to have them thinking about what's the future going to hold for them. 2 weeks out from their finishing their package or being out of sessions, I'm going to have a formal game plan. This is like in writing. Here's what's coming up in terms of your training, your periodization, what we're working on, what you're going to learn, and how long it's going to take. And at that session, I get a commitment from them that they are going to continue and how long they're going to continue for, how many times per week, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And the third piece to this is we have to price present like it's our first sale. A big mistake that a lot of health and fitness pros make is when it comes to having the renewal conversation, it's like, okay, so, you're out of sessions or your package is finishing in a couple weeks. And so, I think you should continue. And, do you want to continue? And so I'm 90% sure that the first time they did a consult with that person and sold them personal training, it did not look like that. Okay. The first time that they did it, they sat down, they were prepared with a price presentation. They did a price presentation in a certain way. They were prepared to overcome objections. They addressed objections properly. This shouldn't be any different. You should treat it like a first sale. If you treat it less seriously, the client will treat it less seriously. So you should treat it like it's its first sale. Professionally, be ready to go, price presentation, be ready to overcome objections. All the things you do in a first sale, you should be doing at every single sale. Okay. And you should treat it that way. And so that's why a lot of clients sometimes don't renew, is because we're just not doing the sales process the way it's supposed to be done. Okay. So let's talk about these things. 30 days out, renewal reflection. Basically, this just means like we need to be having a conversation about the right things as we move forward. So in the resource portal, we have a tool that we've used that we love. It's called Renewal Reflection, that has us asking the right questions and talking about the right things. And so if you're in the exercise therapy community there, in the free resource portal that we just launched recently, this tool is there and you can download it and use it, or you can just use some of the questions to inspire the conversation you have with your clients. So we go through and now, it says, as we reach the end of your training package, is it okay if I ask you a few questions to better understand you? Okay. So number one, do you still have the same goals or have things changed at all? Describe your main goals and priorities. So again, this speaks to the monthly check-in. Are we adding goals? Are there new things we're working on, right? We should be having that conversation on a regular basis. Number two, what have you liked most about working together with us working together thus far? This is important to get feedback. What have been their favorite exercises, their types of programs? What have they liked most about the sessions? Do they like the mental toughness? Not like it? Do they like group workouts? Do they not like it? Do they like circuits? Whatever. Then you're going to adapt your training over the next little bit. You're going to show them that you're listening. Great. I hear you, Julia. This is what I'm going to do. And you tell them how you're going to apply the feedback. So when somebody gives me feedback, I want to echo it back to them and tell them how I'm going to apply it. So it's like, okay, great. I hear that you like, finishers, session finishers where you're getting winded. So I'm moving forward over the next 30 days. We're going to make sure we incorporate finishers in every workout. We're going to do some boxing. We're going to do, a little bit of circuits, whatever. I'm listening to you. Okay. So that's a piece of it, is that not just getting the feedback, but also listening and telling them how you're going to apply the feedback. Okay. Number three, what were some of the most notable accomplishments working together? Okay. So this goes to our constantly having milestones. So we're having this at our monthly check-in anyway. Here's the milestones you've hit, but it also can be qualitatively some of the things that they are experiencing. Like, I feel I'm more disciplined lately, or I feel like I've been able to handle life stresses better, or whatever. I did this with a client a long time ago, and they said, yeah, I've lost a little bit of weight, but I don't even care. The best thing about this is my husband doesn't annoy me as much. That was their response to this. I was like, great. You can handle your life situation better. Okay. So you might be surprised what you learn when you ask that question. Okay. Number four, what's not perfect yet, if anything? So this is like, what do you want us to change? Right? Like, oh, I don't feel like I'm making fast enough progress. Great. Let's address that. Right? Let's tweak the nutrition. Let's tweak the program. Let's add a session per week so we get faster results. Or I don't like this exercise. It doesn't feel good when I do it. Great. Write it down. Show them you're listening. Okay, what I'm going to do for the next little while, I'm going to take that exercise out and I will not add it back again. Okay. Again, not just getting the feedback, but showing them that you're listening to the feedback. Or they're like, I feel like I've got a good workout, but I'm not sweating and I want to sweat. Great. We're going to make sure that at the end of each workout that you've got physical sweat, your shirt's sweaty when we go out. Okay. So how you get the feedback and you show them, I'm going to apply the feedback. Okay. Number 5, help me understand you better. If we continued working together, what would be the best possible outcomes a year from now? So you're having them sort of like dream build, or, I call this future perfect in goal setting. Like what does your life look like a year from now? What are the best possible outcomes? How does your relationships get better? How does your finances get better? How does your work get better? How does everything in your life get better in a year from now if we keep working together? Okay. So I'm going to do this as a future perfect scenario. Number 6, understand you even better. If you stop training, if you took a break from training for a while, what are some of the worst possible outcomes in a year from now? Okay. And so we're going to talk about is like maybe they'll regress. Maybe they'll fall off and not get as many workouts in, right? Maybe their husband will start to annoy them again. I don't know. But let's explore this too. This is what we talked about earlier is what are the costs of not taking care of your body? Okay. Not doing the best possible thing for your body. We need to know this. They need to understand this. That's why we're doing it 30 days out instead of 1 week out. We want some of this information to percolate. Okay. Number 7, how does coaching help you get even further than you could on your own? So this is defining your role as a coach. So they're going to say, wow, you hold me accountable, or we're really good at getting my stress levels down, or, you're really good at changing my program up, and I'd probably just always do the same thing, or you hold me accountable to do the reps that I don't like doing, and I'd probably skip those reps if I was on my own. So they're selling themselves on the coaching in this question, right? They're basically saying, this is why I need a coach. Okay. Number 8, is there anything else I'd add to the discussion? Okay. Can I share this feedback for those who are considering working with me in the future? Meaning like, hey, this is what so-and-so liked about me. How do you want to measure your success in the future? Okay. So it's like, what do you want to measure? Do you want to measure weight? Do you want to measure body fat? Do you want to measure pain on a score 1 to 10? Like what's important to them in terms of, how do you know that they're in the right direction? And then what are some of the proposed future plans? Okay. So what are we going to do? We want to lose this weight. We want to get to that wedding. We want to run a tough mud or whatever. And then how are we going to do that? And then it talks about, are you happy with the session frequency? Do we need to increase it to maximize results? Do we need to decrease frequency for a bit? What are you thinking, right? So this is the example of, this is a renewal reflection. This is a conversation I'm not having last minute. I'm having it 30 days out. I want this information to sink in before I officially do the renewal presentation or price presentation with them. Okay. You can have your own process 30 days out. This tool is there for you to use as inspiration, but you need to have a process 30 days out. That's my suggestion, is that you need to sit down and have a good conversation about these types of things. Okay. Then the next milestone is 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out from when your sessions end or your package ends. Okay. I'm going to actually formally price present like I did the first time I signed you up. So I'm going to be sitting down with you. I'm going to be showing you the periodization, showing you what we're doing, sample programs, whatever I did the first time. I'm going to have the price options laid out. So if first time I laid it out on a price presentation sheet, I'm going to do the same thing. It'll be on a sheet. If I sent you a copy the first time, I'm going to do whatever I did the first time to show you what the options were to train. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to be ready with the price presentation, the periodization, all this, anything evidence I need to show you of what's going to happen on the next package, as well as I'm going to be ready to overcome what I think your objections might be. How will I know what your objections might be? Well, I would have got it out of the last conversation, right? The renewal reflection. Maybe you said you didn't like this. I'm going to show you if I've addressed it. Maybe you said you have something that might interrupt the training. I'm going to be ready to address it. So the renewal reflection conversation I have 30 days out is going to prepare me for what objections I might face now. Okay. So I'm going to price present professionally. I'm going to show you the options. I'm going to get a commitment from you, and I'm going to objection handle. If you say it's not a good time, I'm going to address that objection. If you say, I think I'm going to try it on my own, I'm going to address that objection. And if you want to look at how to handle objections, we don't have time to go to that in today, but on my personal YouTube channel, I have a whole video on price presentation and handling objections that you can watch on how to handle objections. So you can go watch that. Okay. And I'm gonna get a commitment from you 2 weeks out. And some people are uncomfortable with that, asking for a commitment 2 weeks out. They want to wait, right? They're afraid to ask people for money. Why am I getting a commitment 2 weeks out? It's really important for both me and the client. Okay. So the reason for me to get a commitment 2 weeks out is that I want to make sure that I know if I need to replace this client or not. Because right now, 2 weeks out, if you're like, hey, Jeff, everything sounds great, but I'm moving away. I'm not continuing. Okay. Then I have 2 weeks to start ramping up my consults and replace that client. So there's no gap in my hours or income. So I say, great. I know Sebastian's not continuing, love him to death anyways. But over the next 2 weeks, I'm replacing Sebastian. If he's training Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4, I'm going to put a new client in there and I say, this is your start date. Okay. So it gives me time to replace that client so there's no dip in my income in between. Okay. And I probably already got a clue in the renewal reflection conversation. So I might even have 30 days notice to start ramping up my activities. So that's for me. I need to make sure that 2 weeks out, it's a yes or a no. And if it's a no, that's fine. And I'm gonna act accordingly. Okay. And the other reason, why is it important for a client to make a decision 2 weeks out? That's a hard decision. Is this: if they're going to go on their own, the next 2 weeks will be spent preparing them for that. If they're moving away, great. Over the next 2 weeks, every day you come, I'm going to give you a different program. And that way, these are things you can do on your own. Or I'm going to simplify your workout. We were in this phase and it was kind of a hard workout, but I don't want you to do this complex, like conjugate wave loading stuff on your own. I'm going to give you something simpler to follow on your own. Okay. So the 2 weeks, if they are not renewing for the client, it allows me to prepare them to go on their own. So I'm doing the best thing for them. And if they are going to continue, then we stick to the plan. Okay. So it's the best thing for the client and it's the best thing for me 2 weeks out to have a hard yes or no and a commitment. And a commitment to me typically means a payment method, a signature, something that, yes, I've committed to this. Okay. And then the last thing we talked about is the price presentation, which I talked about a little bit already, which is, treat it like it's the first time. Same price presentation, same options, overcoming objections, spending the time to do it properly because it's an important decision. And if I don't treat it seriously, I can't help the client make the best decision possible. So my goal there, why am I there overcoming objections? I want them to make the best decision possible in their lives. Okay. And so that's how we actually do the renewal. I know I'm running out of time. I'm going to go a bit longer and answer questions today because I really want to handle any questions that you guys have. So if you have to go, no problem. I get it. Keisha asked, can we have a copy of the sheet? Yes, you can have a copy of the sheet. It is already free and available to you in the free resource hub. Okay. So we have a free resource hub at Exercise Therapy. You've gotten probably a couple emails already about it. If you don't know about it and you don't know what your login is, just email us and we will help set you back up. But the renewal reflection sheet is in the free resource hub ready to download. Okay. So let me just recap what we talked about today. Renewal, why does it matter? It's important because it's easier to keep and cheaper to keep a client than it is to try and have to gain a new one. Okay. It allows you to have more impact in the lives of the people you care for when you're able to spend more time with them. And stabilizing your income means you can show up better in the world. Okay. Why don't clients renew? Typically because the cost slightly goes up, but the value goes down. So the solution to that is keep the value high. How do we keep the value high? Well, we have renewal processes that are just part of our business. We're always setting new goals. We're doing monthly check-ins. We're always working on some sort of goal. We're reinforcing who do they want to be in the world and tying it to their mission in life and the cost of not taking care of their body and what happens if they do take care of their body. Who do they get to be? Also, we're psychologically reinforcing it by having lots of milestones and showing them all the time how they're creating wins. That will click on the instant gratification button so they're not waiting for this delayed gratification that's going to happen in one day. Okay. We create strong relationships with them. We create strong community. So they don't want to leave me and they don't want to leave the community. Then we set up our processes 30 days out, a really great conversation guided by the renewal reflection tool or your own conversation using those questions as inspiration. 2 weeks out, actually doing a formal plan, formal price presentation, overcoming objections, and getting a commitment one way or the other. Okay. And so that's our process. When you do this, no one's going to keep every client. The goal is to be above 80% renewal. In my experience, I've coached thousands of trainers, and the ones that are pretty good at this are renewing above 80% of their clients on a regular basis. And other clients, other trainers are dropping to, 60, 50% or whatever. And so the better we can do this and the better we can refine and get this system, the better results we're going to get from it. So I'm going to now open it up to questions or anything you guys want to discuss around this particular topic or anything in general as it comes to maintaining your client roster. So who has something they want to chat about or throw in the chat, or you can come off mute and ask. Keisha, you do get a copy of the sheet. It's available for download for you in the resource portal. Just have to go to the free resource portal. You have access. You can log in on the membership site there and you can download the sheet. Any other thoughts or questions that people want to discuss from their own client roster, from their own business, any specific situations? No. Now's the time. Okay. So if there's no questions, I am going to close it off. And so thank you for spending some time with me today. I really love coaching all of you and helping you do what you do best, which is change people's lives. And so I love showing up and being able to do this coaching with you. And I hope you got a lot from it. And the replay will be on the YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and watch it and make some notes, but we'll also, for the next 30 days, have the copy of this recording will be in the membership portal for those of you members of the Inner Circle. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time and efforts today. I value the fact that you always want to get better for yourself and for your people. You make the industry better. So I want to close off by saying you are all amazing people. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.